APRICOT 2017 and also the APNIC Conference 43. And for this part, for the IRM tutorial, for this whole morning, I would introduce about the Internet resource management and more related to the Asia Pacific region or the some services of APNIC. And before I start, first I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Jessica Wei. I am a training officer from APNIC and doing the IPv6 and routing MPLS, this type of trainings, face-to-face trainings and e-learning in APNIC. And before I joined APNIC, I was a training officer in Huawei. I was doing a product training in Huawei for 6 years. And training for example, routers and switches and broadband access servers and this type of equipment. Okay, so this here is my contact, my email, and if we have any questions and if during the session we didn't solve your problem, you can also email me for any further queries. Okay, and please come in. Then for the agenda for this whole morning, these are the topic for this whole morning. So at the beginning, I will introduce the policy development process for APNIC. So you can see we have different policies when you apply IPv4 address, when you apply IPv6 address, and then how the policies are set up. People will ask, so is this decided by APNIC? No, there is a development process from the bottom to up. And then we will introduce the policies after we know how the process, and everyone can participate into the process. And then I will introduce some brief of the policies. In fact, the policies are on our websites, and the very detailed policies for IPv4, IPv6 AS numbers. And here I just brief the information. And then I will use the IPv4 address as an example to show you how to request the IP addresses from APNIC. And then after we request IP addresses, APNIC will set up the database. And here I will show you the WHOIS database. So we can query for different companies. They have applied different addresses from APNIC. You can query who are the contact person and their email, the phone numbers, and this information can be searched from the WHOIS database. And APNIC is maintaining his part. And then we will introduce My APNIC. So if you are APNIC members, then you will have the access to My APNIC. So maybe for one company, at least you have one corporate contact, and maybe some network engineers, they also can access when you distribute some addresses and then you need to register the information. Use My APNIC, and also the AS numbers is also one part of the internet resource, the numbers, and the reverse DNS. So in My APNIC portal, and we also want our members to register the reverse DNS record, and also for the resource certification. So these are the agenda for this morning. And I think the first session we will go to the first 4 topics, and then the second part we will go to the second 4 parts. Okay, and if you have any questions, and you can ask me, and I need to pass the microphone to you. Even this is a small room, but we need to use the microphone because this is a live video on YouTube, and people can see this. So I need to pass the microphone to you later for any questions. Okay, now we will talk about the policy development process. In fact, this conference is a very important part of the policy development process. Okay, so for the policy development, for our region, we will develop this one based on the membership, but not only members can participate into the policy development. You can see we have the open forum for the Asia Pacific region, and APNIC members, of course, they are in the core parts, but also the other, maybe you are not APRICOT members, and you can also participate, maybe for the resource allocation or delegation, maybe also will affect your business, and then you can also propose some proposals. So this is for the global internet community, and all are involved into the policy development. And here is the policy development process. We will introduce step by step. But basically, this is open, and anyone can participate. And you can later, for example, I think it's on day 3, we have the policy SIG meeting, and then people will participate into this meeting. If for the proposal they have any suggestions, they can express in the meeting, and also on the mailing list you can also reply if you have any comments. And transparent, you can see for all the decisions and policy documents you can find on the mailing list. On our mailing list you can see nowadays all the mails are documented, and all the policies are documented, and even for the proposed proposals are also on our websites. You can all read all this information, and for different versions, all are transparent to everyone. And bottom up. So this is, all the proposals are from our community, and maybe people can see that, okay, some policies need to be changed, and because these are affecting my business and our network implementation, and then they can write the proposal, and also can contact our policy group. Okay, so this is our basic vision for this policy development process. And then maybe you'll say, so what is the process? And here we will go through the whole process. Now, before the conference, and then people will submit the proposed policy to APRICOT secretary, and then we will publish this. The SIG chair is also elected, and maybe they are also from this community. SIG chair will post the proposals to the mailing list. So if you are, maybe some of you are in the policy mailing list, policy SIG mailing list, so you can see all these proposals are already published before the conference, and many people can. For different comments, you can comment on the mailing list, and we can discuss the proposal. And so this time for IP address part, and there are 3 proposals for the policy of the IP address for IPv4, and also for the transfer resources, this part. And this is before the conference. We will submit this one, and then generally you need to write the proposals. And during the conference, so during these 4 days, we will hold the meeting for the policy development, and people will discuss, and also we will discuss, and then everyone can express whether this policy has been changed based on this proposal. If we have changed something, whether this will affect your network implementation, and for your resource management, so everyone can express their opinion. And then if we reach the consensus, and then we will report this decision. So this is during the conference. During the conference, we will report this at the APRICOT member meeting. And after the conference, maybe you consider, so it's decided by the people who attended the conference? No, not decided by them. Even reach the consensus during the conference, we will also publish them on the mailing list. So we will have a comment period between 4 to 8 weeks. So even during the conference, maybe some people from some region, they didn't come to the conference, but on the mailing list you can also follow, and then you can also comment for these proposals, and if anything has been changed, and whether this will affect you. And if you have reasonable reason to express, okay, what will affect, and if this has been implemented, and then people will discuss again. Okay, and if reached the consensus, and then we will have, you can see we have different steps, and the SIG chair will ask the EC, and then EC will endorse the proposal and finally implement the policy, but the minimum will take 3 months. So this is the whole process for the policy development process, and we can see everyone can participate into the process. So in fact, we encourage everyone to participate into the process, because if we didn't participate into this part, and later when you discover, oh, this really affected a lot in our country, and then this will generate a big problem. So here is the whole process of the policy development, and the decisions you can see. We will have the comment period and discussed all the time, and especially on the mailing list. And also we will reach the consensus in the conference. We will have a show of hands and need to reach the consensus. But this consensus is not means, okay, 51 to 49. Should to get the majority agreement. And even for the conference, we got the majority agreement, and we also need to wait in the mailing list for nearly 2 months to get everyone's agree, and we don't want to hurt or make a harm part for the other different regions or different companies. Okay, so here is policy, and then everyone can participate. How to participate, and you can see first you can read the policy proposals, and you can also read our check the current policies, because these are transparent, so you can get all this information from APRICOT website, all the current policies and proposals. Now there are 3 proposals for this conference, and join the conference, because now you are here, and then later during the conference we have the discussion of the policies. You can also comment and tell what you will think whether will affect your network, provide your feedback. And for any feedback, you can, if you meet, here not mention about the training and the community outreach. For example, when we went to some place to do the training, if you think there are any issue with the policy parts, you can also tell us. And also, because nowadays everyone is using email, and you can email to APRICOT for all these concerns. And here, so APRICOT staff will be happy to get all the feedback and the queries for the policy parts. Okay, so here is about the policy development process. And any questions here? Okay, if no questions, and then we will move on to the second part. So, because after so many years, and then the policies has been developed slowly, because every year we have 2 conferences for each year, and then for each conference we will have the meeting to discuss about the policy proposals. And so the policy has been slowly changing, and also has been set up to satisfy different applications. And here we will talk about some policies in this part, and we'll introduce about IPv4 addresses, IPv6 addresses, and how for the delegation and allocation parts in this part. Internet registration. Before we really go to the policy, here I would like to show some global IPv4, IPv6 routing table, because this is also related to our policy. When we develop the policy, we need to see what is the current situation. And we know IPv4 address, of course, is really exhausted in Asia Pacific region. And here is for the IPv4 routing table. So this is the routing table. How many routes are in our BGP routing table, global IPv4 routing table? And here is you can see there are some this is from the 90 to this month. And then here, during some special period, the IP routing table has increased a lot. And nowadays it still keep growing like this, keeping growing. And the routing table is larger. And the IP routing table is becoming larger and larger because there are more networks are used in the internet. And another reason, is also about the whether people are do the aggregation for the routing, for your routing information. So if you have aggregate all these routes, and then maybe the routing table can reduce based on our delegation. And so here, nowadays you can see the routing prefix for IPv4 it has reached 600,000 prefixes. Normally, if for one border router, if this is not a high-end big border router, whether his routing table can consist so many routes, 600,000, maybe the normal routers, they cannot contain such a large, big routing table. So this, in fact, is infecting all of us. So for your network, the border routers, whether they can contain so many routing information. So this is related to whether you will do the aggregation when you announce the prefix. Here is about the IPv4 routing table is growing, and the IPv6 is still growing, and you can see from the 2004, this is from 2004 to nowadays, and during the 2011, you can see 2011 is the time IANA distributed the last 5/8 to the 5 IRR. So at that moment, and it's kind of encouraged a lot of people to use IPv6 just during that moment, and then it tends to back to the normal growing. But the IP routing table is also growing a lot nowadays, and more people are using IPv6. And you can see here, these are the prefix, 36,000 prefixes, IPv6 prefixes. So these prefixes are for the routing table. How many routes are announced? Maybe some people, they applied IPv6 address, only implemented internally. They didn't announce to the internet. So here is the growing of IPv6 routing table. And after we talk about the growing of the routing table, I would like to mention our IRM objectives. And here, these are the 3 objectives. So why do we need the internet resource management? The first one, we want to get to do the conservation. Conservation is especially to our IPv4 addresses. So when we apply IPv4 addresses and deploy the IPv6 deployment in our network, and then you need to make the efficient use of the resources, because IPv4 addresses is already nearly exhausted in our region. And later I will show from different IR how many IPv6 addresses are still left. And now we are using the last /8 policy, because we are already in the last /8 for 6 years. And the aggregation, this one, in fact, aggregation both related to IPv4 and IPv6, because IPv4 address table, you can see already reached 600,000 prefixes. So if for different ISP, when you apply /22 from APRICOT, we hope you announce /22 in the internet. We don't want you to spread to be 1/22 to be 4/24 into the internet, because then we'll make our IP routing table size much larger. And if every company did like this, so you can see 1/22 compare with 4/24. So the 4 times of the IP routing table. This is why we are encouraging you to limit the routing table growth. And because otherwise for your border router, you need to always upgrade your border routers, because the IP routing table, the whole BGP routing table is growing, and then you need more routing table memory to contain such a large routing table. So this is related to IPv4 and also related to the IPv6. Why? Because for IPv6, we got a very large space for IPv6. Later you can see every ISP can apply a /32 from APRICOT. And then when you announce prefix, if you didn't do the aggregation well, and then also the IP routing table will grow a lot. Not because so many people are using IPv6, just because we didn't do the good aggregation. So the IPv6 routing table is growing rapidly. So this part is what we need to pay attention. And IPv6 aggregation is more related to how you will do the segment, when you do the allocation to the IPv6 to different customers, and how you aggregate these routes, and whether can you do the better aggregation to reduce our IP routing table size. And this conservation aggregation, the last one is registration. So we want you to keep all the information are recorded and to be updated in APRICOT database. And then, because nowadays, and we want to, for the troubleshooting parts, you can see for network engineer, if they met any abuse issues, and then they need to contact the right person. So we hope every company and our members, you are responsible to keep all the information up to date in the APRICOT database. So this is helpful to everyone in the community. Okay, so these are the main objectives for the IRM Internet Resource Management, and later I will explain about the policies of IPv4 and IPv6. Okay, so here you can see this one is for the delegation, and then first from this topology, I would like to introduce the different levels, okay, where the IP address is from, and then I will discuss about the allocation and the assignment, and I will explain these terminologies. Here, you can see for the APRICOT got 1/8. We can use the last /8 as an example, and we got APRICOT got this block from IANA, and the last /8 is 103 for us, APRICOT 103, and then we will give one block to one member. Okay, for example, one ISP, he come to APRICOT. Okay, I want one block of IP address, and but this is based on the membership. We are not selling IP address, and this IP address not belonging to APRICOT, or not. We will not say these are belonging to the member. Just we delegate this IP address. They can use this IP address while their membership are there, and while they because when they come to apply IP address, they need to demonstrate I have a network. I need to use the public IP address, and then they will come to APRICOT to apply. Okay, so here member allocation, and this member allocation, and then he can do the further delegation to his customers. So this ISP, and here is one word, allocation, and that means for this ISP, he has applied the address, is used for the further delegation, further distribution. So he will tell APRICOT, I will apply this block of IP address, but not used for my own network infrastructure, is used for the further delegation. For example, my customers, I have a bank, maybe one bank will come to me. He needed the public IP address. He is my customer. Then I will give the IP address to him. So this is for the allocation. Allocation is for the further delegation. So you can see he will do the delegation to the others. Maybe one bank, maybe for the other school, university, the other organization, the other companies. And so here is the allocation, and then when this ISP, he got this block of IP address from APRICOT, and then he can do the sub-allocation. Maybe you can see maybe for the lower level 2 ISP, and then they can do the further the delegation. So this one is allocation. Allocation, that means this block of IP address is used for further distribution. And maybe you will say, why do you always mention further distribution? Because here, this one, assignment is not for the further distribution. That means I apply one block of IP address for assignment. That means I use this block of IP address is directly for my own network. I have a network. Maybe in this equipment room, I will directly use all these IP address for my equipments here. And then this is assignment, because I will use this block of IP address for my own infrastructure. I will not use this block address for the further the delegation to the others. Okay, so here is based on the use of your IP address. We have divided into the allocation and assignments. Because for the later you can see for different purpose. If this is for allocation, maybe policy have a wider space for this part. And if this is an assignment, maybe we will have the smaller range, starting from smaller range. So based on different purposes, and then the policies are a little bit different. So that's why I want to emphasize the difference between the allocation and assignment. And later for IPv6, we have similar example. So here, for our members, we will also call them LIR and LIR, Local Internet Registry. And here we have for APRICOT, Asia Pacific region, we have 7 NIR, National Internet Registry, and for different, maybe for some regions, and then for CNIC, there is CNIC and TWNIC and FG, and for some countries and for some economies, and then we have the independent registry. But these are under APRICOT. Also, they will apply address from APRICOT. And later, I think we have also similar topology to describe. Is this part clear? Any questions here? Okay. So continue, I will introduce another one, the portable and the non-portable address. So last page I was explaining about the assignment and the allocation. And here is about the portable and the non-portable address. So portable address, you can see. And maybe some, for example, assigned by the IR from APRICOT to members. And these are the portable addresses. And what does portable mean? And here for the non-portable, provider aggregatable. And here means that customer assignments are from the ISP, So here I will explain from these two topologies. For the portable address, for example, for one hospital, he came to APRICOT, and he has applied one block of the public IP address, one block of public IP address. And then, so for this IP address, they are from APRICOT. And he maybe go to ISPA, okay, I want some internet services, but I don't need your public IP address because I have the block of IP address. So he can go to ISPA to apply the services. And if the ISPA, maybe with the agreement has been reached 2 years, and then he wants to change, for this hospital, he wants to change the upstream. Change it to ISPB. In this case, the hospital, he doesn't need to change the public IP addresses on his equipment. Yes, because all his IP addresses are under his membership, not related to the ISPA. ISPA only provide the internet access service for him. So when he was changing the services to the other ISP, he doesn't need to change his IP addresses, public IP addresses. So for his equipment, he doesn't need to change all these IP addresses. His equipment can keep working and not affect his medical parts too much. So here, that is portable. Portable, that means I can take this block of IP address when I am changing ISP internet service from one ISP to the other ISP. So this is about the portable. Portable, you can see for different customers. This is one, maybe this is one hospital if they are using their own the block of IP address from APRICOT. This is portable, and then this is maybe another university. He applied the block of IP address from APRICOT, and so for different customers, they are using a block of IP address from APRICOT. Okay, so this is one case, the portable IP addresses, and the other condition, maybe some people say, oh, I didn't come to APRICOT, so I have public IP address. Where are they from? They are from your upstream ISP. They are from upstream ISP. So ISP, he will apply one block of IP address. I mentioned maybe for allocation, okay, ISP allocation, and then they will they will distribute the IP address to his customers, So in this case, for example, one company, one bank, and now he's under ISPA, his IP addresses are from ISPA, and maybe after 2 years, he says, oh, I want to change to another ISPB. Can he keep his public IP address? He can keep his public IP address. Are you from ISP? So you are very nice. You can allow your customer to take your IP address block back to the other parts. So here for this customer, he is under one ISPA. All his public IP addresses are from the ISPA. So these IP addresses are under the ISPA membership. Yeah, under this ISPA's membership. So this customer, when he wants to change to another ISPB, he cannot take these IP addresses. So if you really allow them, even the ISP, he is so nice, okay, you can take IP address, but the APRICOT policy doesn't allow. Oh, no. These are talking about the public IP address. Yeah. So here, for the customer assignments, they cannot take these IP addresses away from one ISP to the other ISP. So we call this non-portable addresses. So here, first the definition, we understand the definition of portable and non-portable. And then you can see, maybe you say, what does this picture mean? Some arrows like this, some big arrows. These are related to when ISP announce the routes to the internet. So whether they can do the aggregation. And here you can see, for the customers, if they are from different, they are under their own membership, they come to APRICOT, okay, I apply one block, and the other people apply the other blocks. So there are different blocks under the same ISP. When the ISP, he needs to announce the prefix to the internet, because the ISP, he is responsible to announce the prefix IP routing information, the routes into the internet. So here, if they are from different customers, their own portable addresses, it's very hard for the ISP to do the aggregation, because one is from 61.45.100.0/24. The other one is from 72, and the other one maybe from 83. So different public IP addresses are in the IP routing table, in ISP's routing table. He cannot do the aggregation. If 100 customers, and then he needs to announce 100 prefixes to the internet, if all of them are portable addresses. So, but for the other case, maybe you will say, oh, okay, 100, then 100. But for the other case, for the non-portable, because if they come to, for this ISP, he come to APRICOT, APRICOT will give him one whole/22 block, and then for different customers. And when the ISP, when he wants to announce the prefix into the internet, he can do the aggregation, because all the prefixes are under his block. So we can announce 1/22 into the internet. So what does this mean here is one arrow, and then through this way, we can reduce the size of the routing table. So for the customers, you can see, if you don't, your requirement is not larger than a /24/23, and normally then we will recommend you go to ISP to get the public IP address. Through this way, we can reduce the size of the IP routing table. This is for the normal internet users in internet companies, and then we will recommend if your requirement is not that large. Because from APRICOT later you can see the smallest assignment is from /24. So we don't recommend everyone, okay, I want a /26 and then come to APRICOT to apply /26. And we don't recommend that because this we also need to consider about the whole internet IP routing table size. We want to, if we are under the ISP can do the aggregation. So here, this is the portable and non-portable. And then continue for the IPv6 address management. And here, I think this one will be a little bit recap of the allocation and assignment again. So for APRICOT, now we have a /12 of the IPv6 address. How many of you have deployed IPv6? 1, 2, oh, more than 50%. It's very good. It's very good. Yeah, we have deployed IPv6. And so for APRICOT, now we have a /12, 2400 /12 is for APRICOT region. And so if one member, one ISP, he came to APRICOT, okay, I want to. In fact, nowadays for IPv6 application is very easy. On my APRICOT portal, you just there is one click IPv6, and then it's easily for the who are the current IPv4 users, and then you easily get a /32, and then. For one ISP, he has got 1/32 as an allocation, so he can use this for the further delegation. And I mentioned that allocation is for the further delegation. Assignment is used for this organization for his own infrastructure. Okay, for the smallest assignment from APRICOT will be /48, and then you can get one assignment. That this is the portable assignment. Means okay, even you change your ISP and then you are still using this block of the public IPv6 address. And for the /32 is what the ISP he can get from APRICOT /32. And for some larger organizations, if they can report the usage of IPv6, maybe some organizations they start to apply the next /32. Okay, so it's up to your situation. But /32 can meet the requirements of most ISPs. And then when one ISP he gets /32, he will, okay, I have /32. And these are used for the further delegation or allocation. Okay, maybe one of his customer, one company will come to him, I want to get a /40. So /40 is what we normally, but this is up to different ISP. Different ISP, they have different plan. Maybe for the different size of the customer, and the smaller size, they will give them a /56. /50 from here you can see for /48 or /64. Maybe normally /56. And for a larger group, for a larger size of the customer, maybe give them a /40 or /48. So to them. This is the sub-allocation to our members, what they will do the delegation. So here is the IPv6 address management hierarchy, and we can see the portable, non-portable again. You can see if you are we can simplify this. If this block is from APRICOT, directly from APRICOT, so this is portable. This is portable, not related to the ISP. But if your block is from the ISP, and then maybe ISP, maybe the other members, and then these are non-portable. These are non-portable because these are under his membership, under his APRICOT membership. Okay, so just a recap of these terminologies. Any questions here? Okay, so we will continue. And the aggregation and the non-aggregation, so here is similar, we have mentioned for the portable and non-portable. And for the ISP, you can see he just saw the, okay, for different ISP, if other all his customers are using his own block of IP address, he can do the aggregation. Even I have 100 customers, but all the IP addresses are from my block. When I announce my prefix, I can do the aggregation. Only one prefix sent out. But if the IP addresses are portable, they are from different blocks, because I'm using my membership from APRICOT, and then the IP routing table size, you can see, will increase a lot. This is the effect to our IP routing table. So nowadays, every ISP, and when you announce the prefix into the internet, we are responsible to keep our routing table size smaller, and this will be also easier for your maintenance. And then for the policy environment, here when we apply the IP addresses from APRICOT, and you need to demonstrate your requirements. What are the requirements, and where are you using these addresses? And the network information should be submitted when you apply the IP addresses. And the limitation here is about the membership. So membership normally is renewal every 1 year, every year. Okay, security and confidential. So we will protect the confidentiality of our members' information. So we would, for example, in who is database, you can see we need to publish some contact information. Only this information you are allowed to publish, we will publish. And some information later you can see some information if you want to keep private. For example, I did some allocation, I did some delegation, but I don't want to publish this information on who is database. From your level, you can keep some this information private. Later we can see. Okay, this is and for the allocation policies, and we need to, this aggregation in fact is up to our ISP because the routers are configured by our ISPs, and then whether you will do the aggregation is up to you, and we recommend you to aggregate the routes. Normally we want to, okay, you get a 1/22, we want you announce 1/22 into the internet. Maybe some people, they said, I'm doing some multi-homing for the load balancing and for the protection. Maybe you will go to a /23 with the reasonable reasons. And the allocations, the allocations all are based on the demonstrated need. So you can see if anyone wants to apply the IPv4, especially for the IPv4, IPv6 addresses, we need your network topology and the description of your network, where you are going to use, and maybe our host master will follow this application for a while, and then to get the correct information before we really allocate these addresses, this block to you. Okay. And this is our policy. So here, the policy, the real numbers are here. So nowadays, for APRICOT members, I think most of you already know, and if you are APRICOT members, and then minimum you will get the /24 from APRICOT. If smaller range, and then we will recommend you to go to the ISP to get the non-portable addresses. And for the maximum /21, for this /21, we will divide into two parts. One part is /22 from the final /8. How many of you already got the final /8? From the last /8?
Yeah, we already got our /22, the final one. But is it possible to get one more /22 from the recovered block?
Yeah. From if you have finished this part, and then you can apply another /22 from the recovered block. Yeah. This is up to the current policy. So that's why we maximum can be a /21. Yes. And so here is the allocation is under the maximum can get a /21. 28, 22 from final, the 103, and the other one is from the recovered block. And in fact, this is for this last block, and you can see for this year there are three proposals of the policy two of them are related to the last /8, and one is about the transfer, whether there is any limitation for the transfer for the /8, last /8. And the other one is about the returned pool. And yeah, maybe if you are interested, later you can go to APNIC website to see what are the proposals. And these are affect your implementation parts. IPv4 allocation policies. And for the sub-allocation, so if you, after you get /22, you will do the, you will tell APNIC whether this is allocation or the assignment. Maybe one part for allocation, maybe one part for the assignment. And for the allocation, okay, we will do the further allocate sub-allocation from, this is our member, okay, and then from the member, he has customers, I mentioned for the allocation. So when he do the allocation, sub-allocation, we will also have some policies, maximum 1 year requirement, and also we need to, also your customer needs to give you the demonstrated requirement where he will use this IP address, this information, and then you will do the further allocation. And assignment window and the second opinion. This is assignment window. How many of you heard of assignment window? Maybe some of you, even you are APNIC member, but you didn't maintain my APNIC account. So only for the engineers who are maintaining my APNIC account, maybe then you know the assignment, maybe be familiar. So the assignment window, that means the size of how large is the block you can delegate to your customers. You can delegate to your customer. At the beginning, it will be 0, and slowly, then maybe after 1 year, and then after several second opinion requirements, and then you will get a larger block for the assignment window. That means at the beginning, we think maybe you are not so familiar with the address management. When you do the further allocations, we think maybe you need some suggestion from APNIC. So we didn't give you a bigger assignment window. So for example, if your customer come to you, oh, hello, I want a /24. So, but your assignment window maybe is only /26. That means we are trusting you. You can do the /26 allocations very clearly. But for /24, maybe we want you to come to APNIC to do for the further reference, and then we have defined the assignment window applies to the sub-allocation and also the assignments. And so if you have more experience of the address management, and then you can get to the assignment window can grow from 0 /26 /24. And by this information, you need to ask our help desk to get the assignment information. So normally we recommend you, if you have any concerns with the further allocation or assignment to your customer, we recommend you to ask APNIC for the suggestions. So here for the assignment window is only for the IPv4. For the second opinion, here you can see the assignment window start from 0 and then increase after you gain experience of the address management, the second opinion. So for example, I said your assignment window is /26. Then your customer said, I want /24. So the /24 is larger than /26. So what you said, then should I give him this block? Because he needs this block of IP address. So you will come to APNIC to give a second opinion request, submit a second opinion request. That means, in fact, you just query, okay, ask APNIC, okay, my customer wants /24. Should I give him this /24? So APNIC will help you to identify whether this user, okay, based on this network, and should he use a /24 IPv4 address. So this is about the second opinion request. The basic principle for this one is just APNIC wants to help members to identify the requests from customers to help you have more experience with address management. Okay, so here is a second opinion request approval. Okay, so APRICOT and you and together will analyze whether this, for these users, for your customers, they need this /24. And if they really need, and so APRICOT will approve the second opinion request. Okay. And that was for IPv4 allocation. Here is for IPv6. I think IPv6 address part application is very easy. You can see minimum for the allocation. Allocation means this block is for the further distribution. So minimum is a /32. If larger than /32, need to be justified. So yeah, I said maybe some very large ISP, they have finished, not in fact later you can see this is not finish all the /32. We have the HD ratio, and if they have reached the HD ratio, and then they will come to apply another /32 from APRICOT. Okay, so and for the APRICOT members with existing IPv4 addresses space, and then it's easy one-click policy. If you go to my APRICOT one-click policy to get the /32, and if you use maybe for this case maybe not so common, and maybe you say I didn't apply IPv4 addresses. Now I want to build a totally new IPv6 network, and then you can. If you meet the initial allocation criteria, and then you can also apply the get the IPv6. And here you can see for the subsequent allocation based on the HD ratio 0.94, and I think here is the HD ratio. In fact, the utilization is not 94%; it's 36.9%. Okay, the calculation is different, and here is the HD ratio. For the IPv6 utilization, reached this one, and then you can apply the second block. Because for IPv6, we will recommend the nibble boundary for when you do the segmentation, and then we recommend the nibble boundary, and so not like IPv4, we will use every bit, every IP address, because IPv4 addresses are not enough, exhausted, and so for IPv6 have better scaling paths, and then we will based on nibble boundaries. So the utilization, if you reach 36.9%, and then you can apply the second block. So here, how many of you apply the second block of IPv6 address? I think yes, /34, /32 is really enough for most ISPs, because if for the IPv6 subnet is going to /64, you get a whole IPv6 address, IPv4 address block, 32 bits. So this is enough for most ISP, but for some larger implementation network, and maybe they need more. Okay, so here is for IPv6 utilization and the IPv6 sub-allocation, and I have mentioned that we from the normally /32, and go to our customers will be 40, and maybe 48, 56, 64. I think 64 is only for one connection, for one subnet, so should be very careful that you end user he would only use one link, one connection for IPv6. Okay, here is for the IPv6 allocation, and for IPv6 assignment address space. So further for the sub-allocation is for this part. Okay, /40 or maybe /40, /56, /48, and for the assignments, these are the assignments to the customer. Okay, for himself. For example, for the broadband network, and maybe some users connected to your network, and you will use the DHCP and give them a /56, and this is very common. And maybe for some larger size, and you will give a /48 for the customer. And for some company organization customer, then you will give them a /40. And here just examples. It's up to the size of the customer, network size of the customer. Any questions here for IPv6 allocation and assignment? And okay, if no questions, we'll continue for the assignment of multiple /48. And because normally we will mention that for the IPv6 assignment will /48, and will be as a line, as a limit. And if it is higher than /48, then we want this information to be reviewed at the IR or NIR level. So, for example, if you are VNLink member, you get a /32 from VNLink. And if one of your customers wants to get the assignment, he said, okay, for my own infrastructure, I want maybe /40 for my own infrastructure, not for the further distribution. So it's higher than /48. Then we want this request can be reviewed at in VNLink. So VNLink is helping you to analyze whether this network he needs /40 for his infrastructure. So these are just some recommendations. Okay, the process. Okay, and for here is just also a recommendation for one point of presence of IPv6 service provider /48, and this is just for the assignment for this one. And for portable assignments, so we have met some scenarios, because I said, okay, if your request is lower than /24, then we will say, okay, we recommend you to go to the, for example, you want /26, okay, we will recommend go to ISP to get this block of IP address, non-portable addresses. But for some exceptions, so for some situations, maybe they only need a small block of the IP address, but they want to be portable. So these are some scenarios. One is about the multi-homing. So my network is not large, and I only need a /26 or some parts. But I need to do the multi-homing. So then he can require portable assignments because of the multi-homing purpose. So for this scenario, you need to provide, okay, currently is multi-homed, or maybe we're currently using at least a /24 from the upstream, and intended to be multi-homed, So here is the criteria whether you can get the multi-homed assignments, small assignments. For the multi-homing is one, and also some IXP, Internet Exchange Point. Anyone from Internet Exchange Point? But you are not under APRICOT rating. So which IXP are you from? Which IXP? Internet Exchange Point?
Yeah, the Sudanese Internet Exchange Point.
Oh, Sudan.
Up and run since 2011.
Oh, okay.
We have this result from APRICOT, not from this region.
Okay. Thank you. Welcome to Asia Pacific region. So for IXP, Internet Exchange Point is used to connect our local ISP for the local traffic exchange, and this can help us to make our local traffic locally, and doesn't need to go to the international connection and then come back again. So we can keep the traffic local, and through this way we can save the bandwidth, international bandwidth. And here is the IXP. For the IXP Internet Exchange Point, and then we can do the portable assignments, the size IPv4/24 and IPv6 minimum /48. So based on some special situation, and then we can provide the small portable assignments. This is another exception, IXP. So multi-homing or IXP, or the critical infrastructure. So for some critical infrastructure about the root DNS servers, and then the global GTLD and the CCTLD, these operators, And for the also for address registry infrastructures, IRR and INR, for this critical infrastructure, and also can get the portable assignments, IPv4/24, IPv6/32 maximum/32. So all these, I think if you have applied IPv4, IPv6 address from my APRICOT, you can see these selections when you want to apply, and then he will inform you whether you are from IXP, whether you are from the for the critical infrastructure, and you can select. If you are not, and then we'll go to continue from. These can be selected from my APRICOT portal. Okay, and for the sub-delegation guideline and this sub-allocation, so we normally, in fact, we have the second opinion request, this part. Basically, we just want to give you the suggestion, seek APRICOT advice if you have any doubt for the address management, because we want to manage the addresses to reach the conservative and aggregative, and for this our target. So if you have any queries, and then you can come to APRICOT. And we want to realize the efficient assignments, because this resource is limited and is belonging to all of us. So we don't want to waste the resources, and we want this can be used efficiently by all of us. And to be registered, this information, if you did any sub-allocation or assignments, because after you apply, maybe some organization, after they apply the block of IP from APRICOT, they did some allocation, and some of them they will update. So in fact, we want everyone to keep all this information updated, because you need to write down. Okay, now I have allocated maybe 20% of my block to one customer, and after 2 months I have allocated 30% of my block to another customer. So we want you to write down all this information in WHOIS database. So for this information, if you want to keep private, we will not publish this information. So we want you to record where are these addresses. So write down all these sub-allocation and assignments in my APRICOT, so we can maintain this in WHOIS database. For WHOIS database, if you want to keep it private, so these are in a private database. Any questions here? And transfer, and I think, yeah, because some users, some members, they want to transfer the resource from one company to the other company, and this is based on maybe some organization has been merged and aggregated, and okay, the small companies need to transfer the resources from the different individual company to the large company, and also based on some other requirements. So we have the transfer between APRICOT members and also between the different IR also, but for this is up to the other side IR whether they allow transfer. So here is the between the APRICOT members transfer as a minimum is /24, and also for the resources transfer will be started from the source holder, and then he will submit, okay, I initiate the transfer, and then the other side will receive. And also some fees, the transfer fees will be applied. So this you need to refer to our policy page. So for the exact how much is the transfer fee. And inter-IR IPv4 transfer, so with the other IR, so for example, with RIPE NCC, with the IRM, and then the transfer. Okay, source and recipient IR will apply. So based on what are the policies for the other IR, so different IR, the policies are different because we have different situations and network in different physical geolocations, so the policies are different. IPv4 and AS numbers, though, so for APRICOT we can do the transfers between members, APRICOT to NIR. So for example, APRICOT to VNIC, APNIC to TWNIC. So we can do the transfers between them, and then APNIC to RIPE-NCC, and these are the transfers. And so how to initiate the request is initiated from the source holder, and he will initiate. So the sources should be under this source holder, he will initiate. Here the transfer fees, you can go to this website to check the transfer fees. And to the other transfer from NIR to APNIC member, basically will be initiated from the source holder, and then we need to deal with the other side. But this will be evaluated. We need to evaluate the requests some, and then we need to for the initiate from the source holder, and then he need to submit and demonstrate, and for the receiver also need to demonstrate the need of the resources. So this will be processed based on whether they will reply. Okay, they need to demonstrate the situation of the network. Okay, so these are about the transfer parts. And for some historical resources, because for the, you can see here from the AU NIC, Australian NIC, and then they have some all this database has been removed to APNIC database, and so if some of them they didn't register under the APNIC membership, and then so after they register, the resources will be under the current database. So these are some historical resources will be transferred to our current database. Okay, and for the transfer here, this is from the historical to the current, and after transfer will be all these things will follow the current policy. These are related to transfer, and so previous part about the internet registry policies. Maybe, yeah, because in fact the policies you can see related to IPv4, related to IPv6, related to AS number. So on the website, there are very detailed policies related to each resource. And here I just list brief this information and list them here. So any questions here? If you have for the detailed, maybe if you want to know the detailed information, you can go to our policy website to read these policies. And I mentioned for the current proposal, you can also see what are the proposal this time, and maybe in the future you want to submit some proposal for any change. Okay. And then after we have, so it's kind of how to use the APNIC service. After we have learned the policies, then maybe you need to apply some resource, request the IP addresses. So here we will show you how to request the IP addresses. So decide what type of the number resource you need. So whether you need IPv4 or IPv6 or both of them or AS number. Then here is the IPv4 address space. These are currently the IANA reserved 0, and then based on current usage, we can see is the IRM 36, APNIC 45, and RIPE-NCC. So how many blocks are used? How many IPv4 addresses has been used for different region? And the not available some. Here, these are some blocks, reserved blocks. So for the IRR, totally as 130/8. This is the /8. So all these /8 blocks are already distributed. And here is about how many /8 for each IRR. I think in many presentations you can see this graph. And here you can see this is IRM, is 0, and for APNIC we have .44, so 0.44/8 IP addresses, IPv4 addresses in our database. And who has the most APRICOT? APRICOT has the most IPv4 addresses. So do you need to conserve your IPv4 address?
I think according to some statistics, you
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
So for the next APRICOT meeting, we will have you
Oh, then yeah. Then you will go to the last/8. Oh, so then you will start some last/8 policy, maybe different. Oh, okay. So then even in your region now, in fact, everyone look, APRICOT has the most IPv4 addresses. So in fact, it's only 1.27/8. This is the scenario we are, the situation. And so I think the same as APRICOT. So when they reach the last/8, they will have some /8 policy. For different IRR, the policies are different when they facing the last/8. And so then we need to check your eligibility. And for the IPv4 on the website, maybe you can contact help desk. So whether you can apply for example, IPv4, you ask whether I can get a /22 from the last/8. And also for IPv6, you can ask, okay, whether I can get a /48 or /32. You can check with them. And for the initial, okay, here is for some similar, the delegations before we have mentioned. The initial delegation for the /24. These are some eligibility. And we need to check when you want to apply IPv4. And if you think, for the policies, maybe there are too many policies and too many scenarios, you can ask our help desk directly. You can say, for this situation, for my situation is like this, blah, blah, blah. And then how much IP address block I can apply in my scenario, and you can query our help desk. And you can see here is for some small multi-homing delegation. So you need to tell APRICOT what is your plan for your multi-homing. If you want a portable assignment of IPv4 address, so you need to say, I'm currently multi-homed and or maybe using at least /24, or maybe intended to be multi-homed, and then for the following years, and how will you use these addresses. So this is what we need to check before you apply. And for the IXP and the critical infrastructure, so the policies, it means these policies you need to check. And then here, these are what we have listed in last part, in fact. Okay, you can get a for IPv6 /32 for the further distribution for allocation, and /48 for the assignment, if you want to assignment. Okay, so after you check your eligibility, so what is the size of the block you can apply? Then you will be familiar with the policies, So after you have got, and then what you will do, and so you need to be familiar with the policy, do the further allocation or the assignment, these parts. After this process, then you can apply for the membership and the resources. Okay, so here is these are some standard steps, and for you to get the addresses or get the internet numbers from APRICOT. And if you have any queries, you can go to ask our help desk. And maybe you can through the email, maybe through our website, and maybe during the conference, and when you meet them later, we have the service meeting, and you can also ask them any concerns. Okay, so here is the initial the IP address request and application after you applied, and then we will evaluate. So APRICOT will evaluate, okay, whether because you need to demonstrate your request. Okay, I will use this /24 in this part network, and these are the infrastructure, this information. And then once the application is approved, then the member will receive an invoice and the payment for the membership, and then the completion. Delegate the resource. And then the resources will be, you also need to keep the resources to be updated. So who will maintain this resource? Who are the contact person for this resource in the whois database? Okay, so here is a new member application form. And so everyone, if you will become an APNIC member, and then you need to go through these steps to submit the application. Okay, because these words are very small, so I just show you. You can find this link from website. I will not go through all these one by one. So you need to demonstrate your request from here. What are the resources you want, and for what is the size, and whether you want an AS number or something. So this is the application form. Okay, so here is the policy. I think we have mentioned this policy again, and then for the initial delegation, /maximum/21 to /22 from the one is from final /8, one is from the recovered block. But from the recovered block, and we have a waiting list. You need to wait for the recovered block. If we have enough size for enough resource for you, and then we will delegate. But there is a waiting list. I think this waiting list is also can be seen from the website. How many people are waiting for the resource from the recovered block? Okay, so for the resource request form, this is from my APNIC portal, and maybe nowadays a little bit change, but from the resource you can submit the resource request. So if you are already an APNIC member, then you can require the new resources from here, from my APNIC portal, and maybe if you are the VNIC member, so you will contact VNIC. So I mean for NIR, if you are the member from NIR, then you will contact NIR to get the resources, because NIR will represent you to come to APNIC to apply the resources. So here is for different membership. Okay, so here is about how to request the IP address from APNIC. And any questions? Okay.
Example, my existing customer are using IP4, and then I want to apply IP6 to merge in one. So is there any effect?
Yeah, you can. Are you APNIC member?
Yeah.
So you can apply. You can go to my APNIC portal, and then there is a one-click IPv6 address, because you now already have IPv4 resource has been used in your network. So you just one-click, and then this IPv6 one-click, and easily can get. If you have got /22 allocation, it's easy for you to get a /32 allocation IPv6 address. Yeah, it's very easy. Just one click on your my APNIC portal.
So how about my existing customer? Need to change to IP6 or customer, or just pick the existing IP4 and then the new customer is IP6, right?
You will still be the same membership. I'm under APNIC. Just under your membership, you will get IPv6 resources.
No.
For which customer? Yeah.
I mean, my existing.
So you mean for your customer?
Yeah, my existing customer are using IP6, right? IP4, right? Yeah, and then I want to apply IP6. Yeah, more. So how about my existing customer? Need to change to IP6 or not?
Oh, so this is, you mean whether your customers they need to change from IPv4 to IPv6?
Yeah.
This is how to say. This is about your network implementation scenarios. You can say you can apply both IPv4 and IPv6 addresses from APNIC, but for on the same network, you can both run IPv4 and IPv6. Yeah, so it doesn't mean you implement IPv6. you need to remove IPv4. No. Both are running. So that's why we said, okay, you have IPv4 on your routers. So on these same routers, but in fact, you need to support IPv6. If your routers can support IPv6, you can implement IPv6 on that one. Yeah, both are running. So yeah, for your customers, it's also up to them whether maybe they want to run both IPv4, IPv6, then they can get to the IPv6. You can delegate IPv6. Yeah, so from you to APRICOT, it's very easy to apply the IPv6 block. Yeah. And later you can also meet some of our host master to discuss about how to apply your IPv6 just one click, because you already have your infrastructure. Yeah, so we don't need to analyze this again, because IPv4 are already used in your network. Okay, yeah, you're welcome. So any other questions? No? So here for the who is database. So here, who is database? In fact, who is database covered a lot of information. I think many engineers are using who is database for query, IP, AS number, and also the DNS, reverse DNS. All this information are covered in the who is database. And in this part, what I would introduce is about the part and APRICOT. Because APRICOT has so many members, and the members are registered. Okay, this block is under this member, and this member, he said, okay, these are our network engineer who are maintaining this resource, and this resource are used in this network. So this information, we APRICOT are maintaining these resources for his members. And so I will focusing on the part of APRICOT part, IPv4 address, IPv6 address, and the AS number and the reverse DNS. This part more related to APRICOT. And in fact, from who is database, you can query a lot. And here, so for what is the APRICOT database? Yes, as I said, our members has registered this information, and we need to write down, for this. What are these resources are delegated to. So here is for the different members, and then you can see this we can use the APRICOT database to track the resources. IP addresses, AS number, reverse DNS, and the routing policies. So you can create the route object. Later we can describe some objects, and the records administrative information, because you can see nowadays for the security concerns of our network, and then maybe if we have met some abuse, and we have met some need to do some troubleshooting, and maybe people say, oh, why is this route is dumping a lot on our routing table? And then you can all use the who is query to see who are maintaining this block of IP address to find the contact information. So we need this contact information, but as who are in this community, we need to keep this information correct and up to date. Okay, so if you have met any information is wrong, you can also report to APRICOT to tell us, okay, this number is not existing, or maybe this email is not existing. You can tell us, and we will contact the corporate contact person. And authorization for updating of this information and the IRT. So network abuse handling, so we need to add this information for this resource and to help all of us. In fact, we are helping each other to maintain this internet environment. So here I will talk about the who is database. And this, what I am talking about the who is database is the public one. So you don't need to be APRICOT member, then you can query all this information. So these are public to everyone. And you can go to, for example, APRICOT website, and there is a who is portal, and then you can query any information. The IP address, IPv4, IPv6, all this information. So even you are not APRICOT member, you can query. So for example, they are from Africa, and then they say, oh, we have seen some address, maybe from APRICOT, they can, from Asia Pacific region, they can also query in our who is database. Not related to the user, with the later is about not related to membership here. But for our members, for our members, you need to update the information, and then this information will be selectively. This information will be published because I said some of the sub-allocation will be private up to your requirements. Okay, so for the resource registration here, our members need to keep the information update, and then this information, this useful information, will be published in WHOIS database. Okay, so here for the context and the new resources received and the sub-allocation and assigned, this part we help our members, we keep all these resources up to date, especially for the sub-allocation and the assignments. Okay, and anyone met any problem when you update this information? So if you are using my APRICOT, if you have any problem, you can also meet our member service, and here we have our R&D developer, the program developer here, and you can also ask him questions about my APRICOT. Yeah, because we APRICOT staff are ready to answer all these questions. Okay, and then we are going to talk about the WHOIS database. So maybe when you are querying in the, how many of you are has used the WHOIS database? You, okay, and I think here we have nearly 10 of us have used them, because I know if you are a network engineer, and the WHOIS database will be like a tool for your maintenance during your network maintenance, so if you are not network engineers, and so here I would like to introduce some objects in the WHOIS database. So maybe people consider database so will be very complicated and like the programming, and so we cannot understand what are the information. No, but for this WHOIS database is just the collector, collector all this information, put this information inside, and you can see all are related to the person and the person's name and the phone number, email address, and these are providing the contact information for us. So not so complicated. But for some names, some objects, I would like to explain. So these are just some of them. Don't be scared with some intnum and inetnum. What are these information? Seems not so familiar. But in fact, I just explain, and then you can know just the IPv4 address, just the IPv6 address. We know what is IPv4 address, what is IPv6 address. And then for this resource, who are maintaining these resources? So these are like this, not like IP routing table. We need to understand the routing protocols. So here about the objects, you can see first the person. And then for this resource, and maybe maintained by one network engineer. If anything happened, I can contact this network engineer, and this is the person's name. And then role object. So we will start this part later because it's the tea break. Okay, so we will come back to the object type again. Tea break, sorry.